Hello everybody and welcome back to Theron. Today I wanted to talk about my experience with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Let me know in the comments if you appreciate this kind of a review, because it's the kind that I appreciate. I'll just do a little bit of prefacing. Rather than doing I think Angry Joe or Cinemassacre, the guys that do movie sins, rather than doing a point-by-point thing, I like to discuss everything about the movie, but just in the order that it comes to my head, as if I was telling it to a friend, which is pretty much what I do. I'm going to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy 2 as if I'm explaining it to a friend, and I probably am going to send this to a friend. And personally, I feel like that's a better approach to it, because you can't just bounce from topic to topic, but you get everything out in a more natural flow. So Guardians of the Galaxy 2, obviously I need to start with the opening, because it's just so fantastic. Also, side note, this will be a spoiler-free review. I may do a spoiler review. If you guys want one, let me know in the comments. So, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, spoiler-free review. The opening, which is something that I'm going to discuss because it has been shown around already. The opening is that scene where they're on the platform and the giant creature comes down and Draxx jumps inside it from the trailers, and Groot's dancing. And I just have to say, like, remember Guardians of the Galaxy 1 when Chris Pratt was dancing through that area? I don't want to say what happens in this opening, but when I was sitting there, it was a very bad cinema going experience, because no one else seemed to like Guardians of the Galaxy other than us. But when I was sitting there and the opening started, well, there was a preface just like the last one, and then the opening started and the title happened, and I was sitting there and my jaw dropped, because I went into this with a lot of cynicism. Every review online that I saw was like, it's not as good as the first one, it tries to be the first one again, but it just can't reach that magic. And when I was sitting there, I had the same reaction as the first one. When I was watching the first one, and I said this in my previous review, annotation, when he started dancing, when he slid across the screen, and then started singing into a creature, my jaw dropped, and in my head it clicked. This is going to be a fantastic movie. And I literally relaxed in my seat like I do for Star Wars films after like 15 minutes. I relaxed in my seat, I took a big sip of my drink, and I stopped, and I just forgot about everything and focused on enjoying the film, because it just clicked with me in that minute. This Guardians of the Galaxy movie is going to be the best Marvel movie ever. You can tell in the first 5 minutes of a movie if it's going to be good most of the time. Unless it's something like Inception with a convoluted plot that it might pull off. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was the same way. My jaw dropped in this opening. When the title came up, jaw literally dropped in the cinema. I almost yelled out, yes! Because I knew all the reviews were wrong. This is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Exactly as I wanted it to be in my hopes video. Annotation. It recaptured the magic, absolutely. The soundtrack was so good. The first song that I heard in the movie, I was actually tapping my foot to. You know, it's such a good experience if you liked the first one too, because you know what you're in for, and you dive into it so easily. When the music starts playing, you tap your foot, you move a little in your seat because you know that it's good music and you know that it's going to play into the story. And God, there was a point, I'm trying to remember, the villain in this film, does anyone know who the villain is? Because when I watched the trailers, and again, it's spoiler free, but when I watched the trailers, I was thinking to myself, I never thought, who's the villain? Like in my trailer reactions and hopes and shit, I never mentioned the villain. Because who was the villain in the first one, you think? It was irrelevant, right? No, it actually wasn't. It was a big part of the movie. But I couldn't even think of the villain in the first one for some reason. He was a very bad villain. Oh no, I did. I said in the Guardians 2 hopes that I wanted them to do a better villain. But I didn't even, in the cinema, I wasn't even thinking of the villain. I slid into the story so well. Because, like, I don't want to spoil what it was about, but it had 2 ongoing stories. And it did set up villains very early. And then the end fight, when, like, you see the main villain in all his/her/its glory, I was like, wow, this was better than I was expecting. Oh, and on top of all of that, There's 3 scenes in this where a lot of character development happens. And it's a very smart idea. James Gunn has people argue and yell their true feelings. Now, the reason this is very smart, at least for me, and I think this is a universal thing, is a lot of the time when I express my true feelings, it's during an argument about something, and it's me saying like, no, I actually feel this way. And then it's like, shit, I actually just said that, because you're yelling and you lose track of what you're saying, and then it's like, shit. And you have a moment of togetherness, or like you have a, you know, you have a moment. That's what this film did, and it did it so well, and it developed the characters so well, that there was actually a scene at some point during the film, trying to avoid spoilers in every way possible, but there was a scene at some point during the film where I actually started to shed a tear, almost buying into it kind of way. Like, I was saying to myself, this scene is sad, I should cry, and I started to shed a tear. It actually became incredibly emotional. The character in this scene that does the acting that makes you cry deserves a fucking Oscar. And I'm trying to think of the characters in the film. Yeah, so the characters in the film have never won Oscars. But this specific character is one of those ones that hasn't won an Oscar, obviously. And I really did not expect this kind of depth from that character. And when you know who it is, you're going to be like, wow. You think of this actor in a completely different way. Because they haven't... Okay, I'm not going to say more than that. So we did music, visuals. This film, another thing I went into this film thinking about was I saw this video essay recently about how Marvel movies are dull and grey and orange. So I went into it kind of thinking about that, hoping that Guardians was colourful, because I remember the first one being pretty colourful. Completely forgot about that shit. It was so well done. The visuals in this were done by Weta, which is surprising to me. Lucasfilm must be really busy on The Last Jedi. It's going to be fucking amazing, clearly, if they don't have time to do the Marvel movies. But Weta did such a good job. I think they must have done Doctor Strange as well, because it was that level of visual effects. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 had such good visual effects, especially for a sci-fi. It was just so well done. And there was a surprise actor in this who I did not expect, who I loved. Right? Oh, no. His name was revealed by Chris Pratt in every interview, from Ellen to Jimmy Kimmel. So I can actually say it. And if you don't want to know, skip 5 seconds skip 5 seconds ahead from when I put my hand up like this. So, it's Sylvester Stallone is in this film, right? That's a selling point almost. Like, him/her is such a famous actor that you should almost go see this film just to see him/her. God. And the ending wasn't a cliffhanger. It was very Empire Strikes Back, I gotta say. Like, I'm not saying someone got their hand cut off, but the end was very Empire Strikes Back. Like, Groot goes off to do... I'm telling you what happened in Empire. So, you know, Lando and Chewie went off to do their thing, and Leia and Luke were staying together, and it was just this happy ending to a really dark film that when it cut, you were like... You started to think back to all the dark stuff that happened. So it was happy ending, but it had dark stuff, and it was just a perfect ending. That's what Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 really was the Empire of this trilogy. Could you imagine if Guardians became a Star Wars level series? Oh my god. But yeah, at the end of the day, this was such a fantastic film. I don't want to give it a rating yet, because I feel like that's premature. I'm still in the hype stage, you know. I went into it very cynical, though, so I will give it a rating, but I just want you to know that my ratings do change a lot over time. Once I see something, I get very excited for it, and I think it's the best thing ever until the next thing for it. So I'm trying very hard to, like, be more cynical about stuff. I'd give it an 8.5 to a 9 out of 10. All of the acting was fantastic. The plot was so good. The plot was so good that, being a massive Guardians fan, reading the comics, Like, I went back, I read comics after the first film came out, I watched the TV show, I read up on history and stuff. The plot went places, I assume it did in the comics, but just blew me away. I did not see them coming. And it was just such a fantastic film. It was like the first one, refined. I gave the first one an 8.5 when I originally did it. Now that's a 7.5. This is an 8.5 and 9. And I'm leaving room for the next one to be a 10. And I really hope that it is. But this was so good. Please go see it. And click over there to subscribe and click over there to watch a previous video. I'm talking really fast because once it's the end of the video, it's just the end of the video, you know. I've said everything that I need to say, so let's just end it, you know. Click that like button, click the subscribe button, and watch the other Guardians of the Galaxy videos. Thank you guys for watching as always.